I'm Thomas John.
My name is Johannes Rosenberger. The idea behind EU Ride was in the beginning to have a great adventure at the weekend, and as we started planning this big adventure, we figured out how great it is to do it here in Europe, and we saw opportunities which we just have here in Europe.
We wanted to discover countries, we wanted to travel in a very short time with our bikes, and we started on Friday and we arrived always on Sunday.
With another countryside and most of the times another language too. And that's a really unique situation all over the world, I guess. The first tour we had a cooperation with a bicycle shop in Frankfurt called Fixie-Stube, and they gave us a bus, and we were supposed to have two buses, one taking care of the bike riders and the other one taking care of our media team.
That didn't turn out like that because we were there, our bus was there, we were packing our bus, but we waited for the bus of the Fixie-Stube.
So we were definitely planning with two buses being completely independent of each other.
Yeah, then they came, it was all pretty late. Johannes and me went into the presentation for the Center of Applied European Studies in the Frankfurt University, and all our helping hands stuffed everything into the cars. The event we attended for our start was the opening of the Center of Applied European Sciences. It's part of the Frankfurt University. It completely follows the idea of Europe and studies about Europe, and that really matched our idea to take a very practical approach to Europe.
Europa, wir kommen. Starten.
In the end, everything worked out, and the first meters were great because we really organized a cycling trip to France. So we really took it to the starting line, and it was good.
And then it started with the first mistakes we did on the first kilometer, that we lost our buses. So the media bus and the support bus.
After a few meters we took the wrong way because we were not that clear about our route. It was programmed into our Garmins, and we had it on our mobile phones, but we didn't were that clear about the route. There were 20 people joining us for the first 200k.
And then we continued doing mistakes as we didn't follow our GPS track. We listened to a guy who told us he knew the way to Mainz, and he did, but it wasn't on the official track. So the buses, which we lost, had no chance to get back to us because they couldn't find us.
Yeah, they knew a way. It was pretty nice, but it was not done for big groups. It was not on our track. And yeah, it took us much time. And time was the thing that was the most crucial thing in this calculation to ride 1,100 kilometers in 2.5 days. And so we took, for the first 35 kilometers, we took over 2 hours.
Ja, Leute, hört auf!
Tatsache, sind wir drauf? Bereit?
Ja.
Schön Reifen fahren.
Then we made our first stop in Mainz because we were meeting our cars again. Everybody was not clear about the objective.
We were pretty happy to have them back because they had all our food, yeah? and drinking and all this stuff. But from this point on, I have to say the next 100 or 150 kilometers were pretty good. The group were slowly getting better and riding better together.
We never got ahead of our time plan, but we really got nearer to the timetable.
Wird immer noch keiner das Auto.
Ja, aber das kommt schon.
Ja, ich habe mir eben so ein Schoko-Banane-Brot gegeben, das ist geil, ja. Wurde mir in den Mund gesteckt.
When we drove from Mainz away, the next station was Luxembourg and Schengen. Schengen is this little town where you normally would never go, but there was a contract of Schengen which gave us this free movement.
We arrived in Schengen around 12 o'clock, crossed the border there, crossed a small river and slept directly after the border.
It was really special. For me, when I hear something about Schengen now, I remember this bridge where I slept at the street, and this is Schengen for me. Yeah, the next day when we woke up, it was pretty awesome because we figured out that Schengen is really just a really little village, because after 200 meters we already left. And on this day we crossed from Luxembourg to Belgium, from Belgium to the Netherlands, to Maastricht, and from Maastricht back to Belgium.
We even missed many of the borders because they were so small, and I think at some time there was even no sign.
I had some problems with my Achilles, and I think it was also something which comes from the head, because it was so stressful the last week, and especially the situation with the delay, and that I knew for me it was gone to reach Caen on Sunday evening.
Big problem from the first day was that we were behind on time, and that was partly because of the track, because we weren't experienced enough to choose a track which is efficiently fast. On the other hand, it was a little bit because of the fixie bus.
90% of our delay, I guess, or 80 was the tracking, and there was a little amount of 10 or 20% which was regarding to the group, because Thomas and I knew that we were not racing, but we didn't have too much time.
So every time we got off the bike for a little break, they extended the break. They chose to change bikes, they chose to change cyclists.
But we are both nice guys, and we didn't make this really clear to all the other people riding with us. And then I had problems, so I asked Thomas, and told him about my problems. Yeah, and he has a really high tolerance of stress, so he was just accepting, okay, no problem.
And it got a little bit worse that the Fixie-Stube guys and the Fixie bus, they didn't feel this pressure because we had the pressure. We told everyone we can do such a big thing, and we weren't sure before. We knew there was the possibility that we don't make it, but we wanted to make it. When we arrived in Brussels, short before, they made it 10 minutes before our scheduled break. They took a break for themselves. The group splitted, which was the worst thing that could happen. And we arrived in Brussels, and I was devastated. I was really down because I like the guys from the Fixie-Stube very much, but they were holding us back, and we were even behind from our own faults.
They constantly changed between hopping into the bus and back on the street, which was a great plan, and I really enjoyed it before because I thought, this is really good because they are always fresh. I knew that Thomas was stressed about this too, and when we reached Brussels, we spoke to each other in Brussels, and he said to me that it's getting even worse, the situation.
Johannes was already in the car due to his Achilles heel problems. I had to take a decision because we wouldn't have gone anywhere near Caen with the Fixie-Stuben bus. It was difficult, so I was asked, and I decided that we wanted to go on without the second bus, which made it all worse because we had to pack all our stuff and all our people into our bus, which was then pretty crowded, and everyone sat around on there next to each other. Nobody had some space even to accommodate a whole day in the car.
And yeah, from this moment, from Brussels, we have been alone.
These days I always have the same thoughts turning around and around in my head. I guess I'm still thinking all the time about you. I can't stop this flow from invading all the space that there is in my head. I guess I'm still overthinking everything about you, but
we have been too many people for this bus, and we had so many problems. Everyone wanted to help, so we had everything we discussed. And we made the best decisions, but it took us too long. It would be better to make short, wrong decisions. This is one of the things we really learned on these trips. It's better to have a wrong decision fast than the best in 10 minutes.
Wir haben jetzt noch, ui, du Witzka, 500 Kilometer bis ins Ziel.
Then, I think, shortly after Brussels, it broke that we couldn't even manage our timing plan. And then it was raining, it got darker and darker, and then we missed a turn and lost over 20 minutes through this. But we didn't realize.
Also es regnet jetzt gerade, wir haben optimale Fahrbahnbedingungen, sehr viel Spaß, nur breites Grinsen.
I had the idea in mind that it was now impossible to reach Caen because we had 1 or 2 hours for playing around. If we were 2 hours too late, it it was too late. We would have been too late to reach Caen, and in Mainz we already lost 1 hour and we started 20 minutes later, so it's 1 hour 20. So after 50 kilometers, if you have 1050 ahead and you have just 30 minutes to play around, I knew that wouldn't turn out.
That was a situation where Johannes first came to me and asked me if it wouldn't be a better idea to stop in Paris. I thought, no, why? Because we gave us the challenge and we could still do it. Why give up? Our decision was to give up at 6 o'clock next day. Last chance.
Yeah, by sensing it, I think Thomas, I don't know what was in his head, what was his time calculation, but he really wanted to reach Caen.
We were so far from this deadline in my opinion, it was much too early to decide a different plan back then. Yeah, and then it got colder and colder because it was wet. Our support crew found a hotel room, just one for all of us. So they let the cyclists, which were 3 at that time, sleep in the hotel room, and the support crew was sleeping in the car, and let the day be the day.
And everyone in the bus had to work on Monday, so everyone was like, oh my god, I don't want to go back so late. And that maybe put the whole team in the situation where everyone was kind of happy if we don't reach our goal and be back in Frankfurt on Sunday evening at 11 just. And I think that was one of the key mistakes we made, the big timetable. We needed the Mondays in the end to go back.
Next morning we were going up, and then it already synced to me that nobody wanted to go to Caen, that it would be better for everyone to go to Paris, that Caen wasn't a possibility for everyone. And so we had a very short ride to do.
Yeah, the mood was, in the end, for half an hour it was good, but then it was, everyone that didn't work out so great. Dann wir auf dieser gelben Straße zu und dann wieder vor.
Gib's ihm und jetzt weg.
Was denn? Ich wollte dich schlagen.
Was ist das für ein wahnsinniger Trick?
Ein Auto, alte Straße. Ich wollte dich einfach schlagen. Ich musste ein bisschen Mut rauslassen.
Aua, aua. Immer geradeaus. Es kommen Kreisel, aber ihr fahrt immer geradeaus.
We have been in Paris at the beginning of the European Football Championship. it felt so horrible. Because we were all done, we were so done and kind of disappointed, I guess, too, and yeah, was not the prettiest situation of my life.
Everyone in the support crew is on the limit if they sit in a car for 2.5 days with just 30 kilometers per hour behind some cyclists. That's not a fun thing. So the possibility was to stop in Paris, call it a day, and prepare better for the next time. The first tour was a failed start.
The biggest social experiment adventure I had in my life.
I had no special preparation for the second tour, if we count it sports-wise, but we had to think about what we did wrong with the first tour.
I remember for me, because I had this thing in mind that it all went back because we lost so many times because I did the track wrong and I didn't check it. So luckily the east direction was where I grew up in Frankfurt, so I knew this area and the streets pretty good, so the first 100 kilometers. And I prepared the track pretty precisely. I think from now on it was over precisely, but it worked out pretty good.
So we had to educate the riders that wanted to come with us better, because breaks were costing us too much time, and time is the thing that was least available in this adventure.
Why did we choose Prague and Warsaw for the East Tour? This is pretty easy. If you're starting from Frankfurt, going to East, you can go to Vienna or Warsaw if you have 1,000 kilometers for playing around. And at both combinations, you're going over Prague. And in Vienna I've been, and Thomas has been there too, I know. And Warsaw and Eastern Europe, so Poland and Czech Republic, was more unknown, and it was about an adventure. An adventure you don't have at a place where everyone speaks German.
I felt really much pressure for this, because if we wouldn't have done the second ride, we wouldn't have even started for the third one. I still believe that would have been the end of these tours, because we were telling everybody we can do this, and we were talking pretty loud, and nobody would have believed us if we hadn't done this tour.
We made really a lot of kilometers in the first hours. We have been a smaller group of cyclists and we organized the cyclists better. There's the thing about the small stops.
Hier wahrscheinlich schon so 4-5 Kilometer, aber sobald Orte kommen, Eingang. Über die lange Kurve überholt, mit dem LKW.
And it started a little heavy for me, because I was feeling good and I was riding fast, but from the second tour on I always had a little problem on the first day. After 10 hours of riding I was getting a headache, and it got worse and worse. I even threw up, and that was my day. I could go on the next day.
Road through Bayreuth. I choose a bicycle path, which we are usually never do, because the cars have to find another way. And on this bicycle path, we picked up a guy with a mountain bike and a lot of luggage. And he was so strong. He just picked up our pace with his damn mountain bike. His name was Simon, and he was from Freiburg and was studying in St. Petersburg, just finishing his studies. And so he decided to do a Europe tour by bike too, as we did. And he said, oh, he really loved our idea and so great, and he really wanted to join us when we are going to Rome. And at this moment, I guess, I thought, a lot of people saying it's a great idea and they are going with us, but let's wait until we are going to Rome and let's wait to see what happens. I felt that we were going really fast and it was pretty hilly, so I felt physically really on my limit, because there were like 6 weeks between the first trip and the second trip, and after the first trip I had enough from sport for this time, and I did a kind of season break where I didn't train so much, and on the second trip I was not so fit. But for my head I was pretty fit. I was so looking forward to this tour and I was so happy to do it. And in the morning I crossed the border to Czech Republic, and then I said, okay, it was great, but I'm done. I go to the bus and I hope I can continue riding on Sunday. The guys on the bike, including Thomas, did a great ride because it was really hilly, I remember, and they did 430 kilometers on this day or something like this. That was a really far distance for these hilly roads.
I've never been to Prague before, so we went to Prague. We went through Prague, and it was so crowded because everyone wanted to make pictures on this old bridge where we wanted to make our pictures.
Sehen, wenn die den Kopf so gesenkt halten, dann geht es meistens auch nicht mehr so gut. Wenn der Oberkörper so wackelt beim Bergauffahren, ist auch schon so ein kleines Zeichen, dass es nicht mehr so klappt.
And we found a nice, super nice, cheap, great hostel in Breslau.
But it had clean sheets. There was no rain coming in, and we had a shower, so everything we needed for that night.
I remember on Sunday morning we get up at 3:30, like every time, and it rained. It was so heavy rain, but exactly at 4, when I stepped out of the hostel with my bike, it stopped raining. We drove through Breslau and the road was still slippery, as Philip figured out.
A small incident that one of our following riders, Philip, fell on the first few turns and had a hip for the whole next day.
it was okay. He was a pretty funny guy. He basically wanted to go to Prague and then back by train, but he enjoyed the ride, so he took his smartphone, and just booked a flight back from Warsaw and decided to go to Warsaw all the way spontaneously. Yeah, and from now on we never get rid of him. We never got rid of him from this moment, but because from this tour he was always with us on the tour, which we really enjoyed. The morning in Poland was awesome. We had a great sunset. It was weather like in Spain. It was pancake flat. Had a great break at 100 kilometers before Warsaw at the small bus station in the middle of nowhere.
Daheim esse ich ab und zu so eine Packung kleine Salamis und dazu einen Liter Schokomilch. Und die, wenn man dann aufstößt, dann muss man sich fast selber vergeben.
Hey, that was a pretty perfect day because especially Thomas and I think we both had doubts that all the project can work. And on this day, it was just a great day for cycling, but it was also the day for us when we saw, okay, the whole project can possibly work.
Kilometers before we crossed our personal finish line in Warsaw was we headed into a very heavy rain. It couldn't break my happiness because we really arrived. We really did it. But when we really arrived, when we went on this place, it was pretty unspectacular. It was a really nice town and I was so happy to arrive. But it was still just a place anywhere in Europe. And it was raining slightly and it was cold, but we arrived. We arrived there on this exact point we planned before, and that was great. The Warsaw tour was the comeback. We chose Göteborg because Oslo would have been cheated, which was our first goal. We would have gone into Oslo not riding our bikes, and it was a little bit too far. So we chose Göteborg.
So eine Tour mit den Jungs hier, das muss man mitmachen, muss man erlebt haben.
This tour, it was a granny tour because in Minden we met the grandmother of Stefan, one of our bike riders who was with us.
They gave us a very warm-hearted welcome there in Minden. were so far on the first day. On the second day, we were so early in Hamburg that I took my phone and called my grandma, and she really made it to Lübeck, to the Holsten Tor.
Which was amazing because she was such a lovely old woman.
I haven't seen her for a longer time now, and I was really happy for this part of the tour, or for the whole tour.
Ja, wir waren ja auch brutal unter Zeitdruck. Wir sind gleich schon beim Rennen. Der Kai hat noch versucht, uns loszuwerden. Das kann ich so nicht bejahen.
I really liked Denmark, and because it was fast. It was nice weather, nice landscape, and we were just rolling. We had tailwind. We were arriving in Copenhagen in the midst of the night, and we never expected to go that far on that day. We were starting on Sunday morning, crossing another sea, arriving in Sweden, and we had headwind.
It was still, for me, the prettiest day, maybe of all tours in Sweden.
And we arrived in Göteborg. And even if we were prepared so much worse than the tour 2 weeks before, we have done it.
It was really insane.
And I was so happy that we did it. And I was really happy that there was a longer break after the third ride.
It was really nice because it was a second time that it all went out pretty well, and the team who was with us was pretty good, and there were guys like Philip or Stefan, Kai, guys which we are used to ride bike with, and some of them had to go into the bus for the last part, some of them went with us all the way, but we were used to these people, and they were all happy being with us, and we were happy to have them around us, and it was our group. So this was a pretty enjoyable moment. For me, the first tour I was well prepared for my legs, but not well for my head. The second tour was the other way around. The third tour was getting better, and I really wanted to do the Rome tour. I was so looking forward to it. I was so happy that were going to the south, because from our Russia race I knew that the whole landscape will change a lot on this tour. And this is what I really like. If you are going so far on the bike that you see the landscape changing.
Like, my sportive preparation is always poor, but we prepared for Rome a little differently, because we have done it twice, and now we thought we couldn't do Rome in just 3 days. It's 200 kilometers extra. That wouldn't be good. So we took a little bit more time for that, 1 extra day, and we thought, hey, now we can take people with us, because they will be helping us, it will be much more fun, and we can show them such a tour.
It was a great day. We lost so many time through Darmstadt and Neu-Isenburg and all these cities in the south of Frankfurt. I didn't thought that it was so bad going through these cities with a big bike group.
We had really much delay after 30 kilometers, which we remember from our very, very first tour. But after that, it gone on pretty well.
Stuttgart, it was kind of funny. There was a construction zone. In order to this construction zone, we had to go into a tunnel which was just for cars. Immediately in this second, there were 2 police vans on motorbikes in front of us and stopping us in the middle of this tunnel. And I was going to them and explained them, oh, I'm afraid I don't want to be here too. Can you please help us out, please? And it wasn't a lie, I didn't want to be there with a big bike group. And they were really nice and said, okay, right behind us.
Der hat es voll professionell gefilmt hier und so weiter.
It went all well. It went all according to plan. Not completely, because I still had my headache problems.
Ja, das ist auch alles halb so schlimm, ne? Ich glaube, ich habe einfach... Ja, der Helm ist zu für mich, glaube ich. Ich schwitze einfach zu viel.
On Friday evening there were like 2 hours of rain and really hilly terrain, and we were going up to an altitude of 600 meters.
12:30 in the night in Mengen, and that was good. On the next morning, we had our big day planned, the highest day. So we were just, if you can say that, thinking about 350 kilometers on that day.
Die alten Herren sind die ersten, die wach sind.
Which is in every regular mindset a really, really tough day. But for us, with 500 kilometers some weeks before on one day, we didn't thought so much about that.
Folgen wir zu. Ich komme nochmal hören, ob alles
Gar keinen Fall.
Morgen. Ja. Täschchen. Wo gehört das hin?
Das ist Techniker.
Aber auf meiner Isomatte schlafen
Wieder. Hast du geschlafen? Ich habe wieder geschlafen. Hä? Das liegt nicht daran.
Doch.
Ich habe mir gesagt, aber ich habe gehofft. remember this guy we met at the second tour in Bayreuth, Simon, who told me at this point, I will go to Rome with you. And I thought, yeah, let's see. He was there on the second day in the morning.
Wer bist du denn?
Simon.
Hi. Fährst
Hi.
du bis Rom mit?
Ja. Hi.
Mit diesen Schuhen da?
Ja, genau. Mit dem Zweck, weil die halt schon sehr bequem und ausgelatscht sind.
Und wahrscheinlich mehr Raddruck hat als wir alle.
With his 30-year-old bike without click pedals.
Denn seine Füße sind nicht fest mit dem Pedal verbunden. Und er tritt einfach nur drauf und kann damit nicht ziehen.
With a normal jacket. And in the first second when I saw him, I thought, this will be an adventure. Remember a really nice story of our photographer, Sabrina. She climbed up a wine hill for making a pretty nice shot of us, and she ran down this hill afterwards. She recognized it that something hit her on the leg, but she thought it was an animal or something like this. So she ran back to the car. 2 hours later, she realized, shit, my cell phone is gone. And that's not a big deal, a cell phone, but it was the cell phone where we are doing our Facebook posts. And then they drove back to this place. And she found it back. After 2 hours or more, she found her cell phone exactly at this place where she thought there was an animal biting her in the leg. Okay, the display was broken, but it was still working.
We had to go through Splügenpass, which was the highest point of our tour, which is a really high mountain in the Alps. Or it's a pass in the Alps, not a mountain.
So for cyclists, it's always great to ride up 40 kilometers in the Alps. These small, windy roads. It's just lovely, and you have this little moment where you're feeling like a big cyclist, yeah? Because you think I am doing a big thing now.
Es macht Spaß und es dauert nicht mehr lang. Wir stehen oben am Blechschild mit den Höhenmetern drauf. Es wird so geil.
Was hörst du?
Die Frage ist, was
Einen
nimmst
ganz
du?
traurigen Liebessong.
When we were crossing the Splügenpass at 2,000 meters of altitude and 43 kilometers of climbing, we crossed the border to Italy, and finally there we were in Mediterranean surroundings.
Ja, jetzt noch 2 Stunden nach Hause, ne?
it went down, and going downhill is so much fun for a bike, and our media crew decided to go in front of us to film, to make great video material. But the thing is, on these small windy roads you are faster with a bike than with a car. But our media car driver, Sven, wanted to show that it's not this way.
Oh Gott.
We arrived in Menaccio really much too early, or much earlier than we expected, like before 6 o'clock. On all the other days of all the other tours, we were riding until 12 o'clock, and we had 6 hours added to our regular break. And we were really looking forward to the barbecue this hostel offered for this night, and it was great having this barbecue.
We celebrated the birthday of Kai, one of the bike riders who was with us all the time.
Kai was the only one who really did every meter on every tour, and that was a strong thing.
It was great. We did one of the most beautiful stages. Everything went good at this day. Everyone was happy. No one had to go into the bath.
Third day started early. Started with a little bit wet road, but all in all it was pretty good. Our support crew chose a beautiful cafe, and it was great because they freshly filled croissants with different fillings like white chocolate, black chocolate, Nutella, marmalade, everything you could imagine. It was so great.
Aus Parma rausgefahren und auf dem Weg nach Bologna. Jetzt gibt es eine Live-Raubtierfütterung. Wir sind gespannt, was die Jungs dazu sagen, was wir ihnen Schönes mitgebracht haben. Unser lieber Kameramann Alex, hier sehen wir ihn, möchte auch unbedingt mal auf Facebook erscheinen. Deswegen darf er die Fütterung übernehmen. So, Kinder, erstmal gibt's was zu essen. Geil. Oh. Vegetarier in der Runde bekommt natürlich Pommes frites anstatt Burger. Lass dir es schmecken. Kai.
Ist das, seid ihr geil? Ah.
Der hat schon echt abgenommen, aber es reicht noch nicht.
mein Eis.
Dann wird das aber nichts Großes.
Ja, aber gut, gell? Ja, gut.
Ich bin so ein bisschen, weißt du, ich habe mich hier einfach hingesetzt auf die Bank. Er hat sich ja wohlweislich an dieses Ding gesetzt und diese Bank biegt sich ultimativ durch.
Ich habe mich immer da hingesetzt und dann dachte ich, das ist mir zu gefährlich. Habe ich Erik, was ich damit machen kann. Ja, das ist auch gut. In Bologna, which we had to stop because it's a big European point for all the young Europeans like me, which are studying in a bachelor master system.
And in Bologna it was sports day, which made it already really difficult to get through the inner town. And when we were preparing for the pictures, we were hearing thunderstorm in the background, and we knew it will really rain in a
Sag
minute.
denen mal, die sollen auch von mir aus außen rumfahren, weil wir brauchen dann dringend Verpflegung, Regenjacken und ein Krankenhaus. So beautiful to climb up to San Marino because it was 20 degrees. There was a sky full of stars. It was the end of the tour. We were more or less in the timetable we expected. I think we were 50 minutes late. On the next morning we stood up at 3:30 standard time and we started at 4, and then I felt really good, but then it was just always a mix up of the circumstances, if it's a great or a shit situation. And it was raining, and after 15 minutes there was a first incline of 20% or something like this. Even it was in Marino, I think. And then it's pretty hard. If it's 4:20 and it rains when you start riding, and then there's an incline of 20% where you barely try to avoid your front wheel moving up the ground because it's so steep. Wir fahren jetzt schon den 3. Berg hoch. Jeder hat so 500 Höhenmeter. Vielleicht auch nur 300. Fühlt sich an wie 6 Stunden. Die Gruppe ist ganz schön zerfleddert und am Beißen. Irgendwie ist immer Schotter. Aber ich glaube, in der Magengegend sind wir alle glücklich. Im Kopf und in den Beinen nicht. And it went downhill pretty steep, and then it went 90-degree right again, and then yeah, we have been on an incline I've never had before in my life. It was so steep. I just can estimate, I think it's 23-24% or something like this. Freust du die Steigung? Guckst du einmal an und rutschst mal weg. And the media car had to stop because the bike riders were too slow and they were not able to accelerate again.
It was really difficult. It got so difficult that the cars couldn't help us anymore because it was too steep for the cars.
Warte vielleicht mal ganz kurz, wir müssen mal ganz kurz nach dem Auto schauen.
Fuck.
Ja, vorne geht.
We had to find a way on our own, but we met the cars shortly after, and they have found a way which was apparently not that short.
When you are looking at your bike computer and see you are so late, you are so slow, you have 250 kilometers ahead, this plays on your head, and nobody was happy in this situation. The support cars were gone. It was 5 o'clock in the morning or 5:30, 6. We just wanted to do our breakfast break.
And we've really found the perfect breakfast place for that day, the local mountain bike point. At that point, we needed a plan because it was steeper than Johannes promised before.
I am creating this track and I think I would have defended it better. Yeah, but anyway. We went up the track because the idea was this is flat and the track is hilly. And that was a mistake, as it always is.
Wir sind hier und müssen hier rüber und da sind nun mal die Apenninen im Weg. Da müssen wir durch. Und wir fahren ja schon die flachsten Stellen an. Wir fahren ja schon nicht über die Pässe. Entweder hier, genau, hier runter nach Perugia oder hier quer rüber. Das wären 90 und dann könnte man von hier runter.
Höhenmeter bei beiden sind. Weil wenn das Perugia auch ähnlich viele Höhenmeter sind, dann macht es mehr Sinn, weil es kürzer ist.
Die Route enthält tageszeitlich gesperrte Straßen.
Ja,
Was wir dann?
Das ist wahrscheinlich hier nochmal das Stück,
wo tot ist.
Wo das hier ist, wo die vielen Höhenmeter kommen. Das heißt, wenn man das Stück hier umgeht,
wäre top.
Das ist sicherlich schon mal geil.
Dann eher hier so.
Hier so.
Hier so.
Genau. Und dann im Prinzip an der Westseite Italiens im Prinzip komplett runter nach Rom fahren.
Wie viele Kilometer sind das?
274 Kilometer ab jetzt noch bis Rom.
Oder nochmal etwas steiler und dann hier entlang der Route zu fahren.
Genau, also, aber die sind, 280 Kilometer lang. Wir haben jetzt noch, Stand jetzt 230. Entweder 230, ein Hakenberg quasi und dann geht die ganze Zeit hoch und runter. Oder einmal komplett über den Berg und danach scheinbar angeblich ein bisschen flacher, ne? Das nimmt sich nichts. Guck mal, wir fahren hier nämlich schön durch die Tal. Wir fahren die alte Route.
Wir fahren die alte, ja.
Auch wenn es jetzt, klar, ich meine, das war jetzt...
Ja, fahren wir halt.
Aber...
die ursprüngliche Route?
Ja.
Da müssen wir umdrehen, da hätten wir wieder vor 100 Metern da jetzt hochgemusst. Ja, wir können vorbei.
Einfach die ganze Zeit auf dieser Straße, ja? Track hin oder her, scheißegal. Das war geil. Ja.
It was a fast decision. The last 80 kilometers to Rome were so beautiful. There were these small roads and we had nice hills which were not so steep but beautiful to ride, nice descents.
It was so nice, you could look into valleys, far into valleys on the left and right.
And just 5 kilometers before the Colosseum we had to jump into the serious city traffic.
then we arrived on the Colosseum and the EU ride was done. We really did something that changed a little bit from start to the end, but we achieved our goal of 4 adventurous trips.
Vor 3,5 Jahren noch schon bauen konnten.
Yeah, we've been at the Colosseum. Finally, with so many people together reaching this goal, and this was a great feeling. How it changed a bit and how it was in the end. I was pretty happy to be there with exactly this group.
I was so happy that we really did it, that we really managed to get to the Colosseum, that we brought everything everyone in one piece.
And that the message we wanted to send came out much more better and much clearer than I expected it. To show how many countries and countrysides, cultures you can see and press into one weekend just by a bike. This came out way better than I expected before. And how much adventure you can get in these 3 days.
There is not one result to this project because we did so many things we didn't expect before. So we developed ourselves because we were not able to finish the first ride and even took 8 people with us on the 4th ride. We met so many people. We saw so many countries, countrysides. We really, in the end, saw Europe, and that was not so clear to me before.
You are like 10 people in this group. Some are stronger and some are weak or weaker, but you always have to go together. And on some situations on the bike ride, on hills, the strongest riders have to take care of the weaker ones, because if they are going too fast up the hill, they are really destroying the weaker ones. Riding in a group on a hilly terrain on such a long distance is really about taking care about every member of the group.